Okay, so here at History and Headlines, with Granny Monster and, of course, special guest Cherish Monster, Action Gal, and Llama Monster, we want to thank you for joining us. In January, you may have noticed that there was a full moon, and it was very unusual. It was actually called the Wolf Moon, and although it was frigid deep and in some places very deep snow and right in the middle of winter, the wolf pack howled hungrily outside Indian villages, and that's how it got that unusual name. Okay? And the full moon was also known as the old moon, or the moon after Yule in some other cultures. And some tribes was the first snow moon. So all of this applied, and also given that it was a total lunar eclipse, and it was visible to most parts of our United States and parts of Europe and Africa as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this footage. Now, coming up in February 19th is the full snow moon, okay? And it should, usually it's very, very heaviest in snowfall around that time of the month. Of course, not here in Texas. And they believe that hunting is very difficult, okay? And it also has been said that it has very high tides in some places, okay? So I hope that you will get outside and look at the night sky on February 19th for the full snow moon. Now, again coming up in March, and that's March 20th, is something called the full warm WORM, warm moon, okay? And in this month, the ground softens and the earthworms first reappear, and that, of course, invites the return of what? Rockin' Robins! Yay! Okay, so more often tribes knew this as far as the full crow moon, some of them was called that, and also the full crust moon because of the snow covered and crust underneath your feet. Okay? So thank you very, very much for listening, and look to the skies. Now stay tuned for the rest of the video.
Not many people know what the llama does for work. I actually work in the funeral industry. I'm the guy who shows up, puts up the tent, make the hole look pretty with a fake grass, and put up the chairs and a nifty chair cover, and you get the lowering device, that kind of thing. It's a subcontractor thing, and you know. Sometimes out in West Virginia, you get, well, things happen. Things happen in the middle of nowhere when you're on top of a mountain. And the other day, it was last week, I'm up there, doing what I do, setting stuff up and preparing, and just so happens because of the location, it was way out there. Um, the funeral director couldn't get the hearse up the mountain, and this is way back in the hills. So the guy I was working with went down the mountain with the truck. It's a big truck, chains on the tires and four-wheel drive and a whole 9 yards. And I'm up on top of this mountain by myself, just kind of waiting for him, probably an hour or so. And I could hear whispering. Up in the middle of nowhere, in a graveyard, back in the hills, way back in him. I'm hearing whispering. And okay, so I'm hearing whispering. I'm just resigned to the fact that I'm hearing whispering because there's nothing I can do about it. And I thought I was going crazy, but no, there it was. That didn't freak me out until I started to hear. Now, West Virginia, I don't think it has a lot of wolves per se, but what it does have is coyotes. So I'm like, okay, up in the mountain, in the middle of nowhere, hearing whispering and howling. So needless to say, I'm kind of freaked out. Halloween, it wasn't getting closer or anything like that. It was just freaking me out, right? So the guy I work with comes up, and I'm looking visibly freaked out. And he comes over, he's like, dude, what's wrong? And I'm like, I heard people, man. I heard whispering in this graveyard. He's like, oh, yeah, man, that people just hang out just like we do, man. I mean, what's the big deal? I hear whispering sometimes. These graveyards out here, you never know. I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me, dude? And then I told him I heard coyotes, and he's like, oh yeah, that's bad. Yeah, you don't want to be up here alone, hearing coyotes. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of was. And he's like, oh well, it's not a big deal. Happens all the time. Meanwhile, I'm like about to soil myself. I mean, can you imagine though, being way out there in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia, no roads anywhere nearby, nothing, and you're hearing. I mean, what? Anyway, I just wanted to share that, and it looks like I did. So thanks for watching. Oh dear.
A man dies from an atomic wedgie. 58-year-old Denver St. Clair suffocated and died of an atomic wedgie delivered by his stepson, Bradley Davis, 33. To the contrary, insisted niece Jessica K. St. Clair Hackney. She declared on Facebook, quote, "Atomic wedgie didn't kill my uncle," unquote. She maintained that Brad Davis beat her uncle in the head and gave him the atomic wedgie once Denver St. Clair was unconscious. Davis admitted to the authorities that he had given St. Clair the atomic wedgie, but Hackney persisted on Facebook that Davis was just, quote-unquote, being a smartass, adding that it was a plan to hurt the dead man's reputation. I'm sure if he were conscious enough to undo the so-called wedgie, he would have been able to get it undone. But he was struck in the head with a weapon no one can find, wrote Hackney. My uncle was killed by blunt force trauma. He may have suffocated after being struck, but I'm almost sure that's not the case. Reportedly, the stepfather had called Davis's mother worthless. There was a drunken family fight at a residence east of Oklahoma City, the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office said in the arrest affidavit. The affidavit said Davis, quote, grabbed St. Clair's underwear and gave him an atomic wedgie. Davis allegedly pulled the elastic waistband of St. Clair's underwear over his head and around his neck. Hopefully, everyone will figure out they aren't being given the whole story, Hackney added. The sad thing is, the family wasn't even warned about that part. We only knew he was beat, she declared. Pottawatomie County Sheriff Deputy Travis Palmer said Davis and St. Clair were drinking beer on the night of December 21st, 2014, at the older man's home. Investigators noted that the atomic wedgie had left ligature marks around St. Clair's neck. Blood spatter was also found in the kitchen, living room, and on the living room ceiling.